Welcome to Financial Reporting Conversations, brought to you by Basford Consulting.
We're here to make the unknowns and knowns of accounting, auditing and climate standards known, so you can avoid the blind-threading mistakes and do financial reporting better.
Each episode will unpack what the standards really say, what they mean in practice.
Whether you're a preparer, auditor, director or litigator, our aim is to help you get it right. Welcome to an early episode of Financial Reporting Conversations. We're here to figure out what this show could become, what it should do, who it's for, and how to make it engaging. I'm Judith Leung, and I'm joined by Wayne Basford and Chris Schwager from Rich Films, who's been helping to guide us through the setup and production process. Wayne, so why are we doing this podcast?
Very good question. Base principle is have fun, make money. So this is meant to reach out to people, to engage with our potential clients. And it is also meant to recycle a lot of the material that we're producing for training. So hopefully a lot of these podcasts will create material shorts that we'll just embed into our training. And again, with the shorts idea, it's meant to keep content going for LinkedIn. So it's meant to keep regular posting on LinkedIn without us having to write articles or boring articles. So a lot of my philosophy is recycle, reuse, and use all this video equipment we've got.
Sure. And who do we imagine want our audience to be?
Really, I believe the core people are going to be auditors. They're going to be from grads to partners, listening about financial accounting, listening about auditing standards, listening about problems, complicated areas. I think we'll have preparers. I'd hope that we'd have preparers there. It would be good if we had academics, both, the accounting professors, auditing professors, and their students. And I hope certain episodes we'll deliberately do for audit committee members. And remembering part of my business is expert witness and litigation, there will be episodes that are deliberately aimed at litigators, and potentially auditors and preparers might want to listen in onto those sessions as well. A question I think for both of us is whether we should make these podcasts AASB and ACEs, or whether we should actually be reverting back into speaking IFRS and ISAs, and whether we should actually be looking at trying to get people in the IFRS world from Southeast Asia, from the hubs of using IFRS.
Yeah, certainly. I know a lot of our contacts just from different part of the world, from Europe and East Asia, and from some of our work, we do advise clients from Asia as well. So using IFRS would help them listen into what's happening.
We're supporting firms in Thailand, Singapore, and if you look at the real audit base in Australia, a lot of their staff are working offshore. The number of offshore in India, in Dubai or the Philippines, and those guys, they think in IFRS, speak in IFRS. So that's something we've got to decide where we go.
And what tone do we want to strike? Do we want to be informative, conversational, lighthearted?
Yes. So hopefully
Wayne style.
We've got to be careful with the Wayne style, the sarcasm, the British sense of humour and irony. I might find it funny, but I'm not sure the rest of the world finds it funny. And it's striking the balance. I want it to be conversational. I do not want it to be boring. I do not want it to be lecturing. It's conversational. It's informative. It's practical. And we might, within possible limits, we might have Judith's nerdy 10 minutes. We might have really technical Judith in a nerdy mode talking financial instruments. You might even have to do one on macro hedging for us all. But Sheldon does flags, or the world of flags, according to Judith. So it is meant to be lighthearted, meant to be informative and practical.
helping people understand the complexities without using, hopefully, not too many technical.
You'll see part of the taglines as and when we get the graphics and stuff up on Spotify and Amazon or whatever. Part of the aim of financial reporting conversations is to transfer the unknown unknowns to the known unknowns. This is to inform auditors, to inform preparers, inform audit committee members. This is what the accounting standard says. This is what the auditing standard says. It's not meant to teach people to be me or you. It's not meant to be a preparation for a CA or a CPA qualification, but it's meant to be informative. Oh, I didn't realize, I forgot that, or I never quite understood that happening. And remembering, from said before, part of this is meant to be recycling back into our training and to be informative in our training, to have a conversation. This is what you need to watch out for. This is what fix for fix means. This is what a derivative liability is, and all those things that are in our world, but normal auditors try and stay away from it.
The complexity, but we're also linking it back to practice and how the practical applications of the standards.
We, interestingly, and I can say this as, former staff member at the IASB, you see the staff, you see the Accounting Standards Board, the Sustainability Standards Board, the Auditing Standards Board. They desperately need to do outreach problems. They need to get people to tell them what their problems are. And part of the problems the standard setters have, they don't know the practical experience. We're now the reverse of that. We spend our life listening to problems. We do not sit there in an ivory tower worrying about, we get panicked phone calls, emails on Sunday, the 25th of October, panicking about a report that needs to go out on the 31st of October with an amazingly complex convertible note and the renegotiations of it. So, what I want to bring is we are practical. This is not theoretical. This is not ivory tower. A lot of the content will be downloading recent weird stuff that we've seen, and we've had a battle through to get how does the accounting standards work.
And what would success for us look like for this series to be successful?
Hopefully somebody will listen to it. So hopefully after a few episodes, we will have more than me, you, our closely related family watching the episode. And part of this success is I actually want people to be volunteering to be on the podcast. I would like people to say they want to be interviewed, or, as a scary thing to anybody listening, I wouldn't mind them interviewing me. And what do you mean by this? Going forward, so, part of the thing that's topical in the financial reporting world is now sustainability. We're going to have climate statements, and I know there's an interesting debate. There's sects that this is what you should do and materiality is this, and I'm not going to tolerate that. And I've got others, particularly in the preparer world, that says this is all rubbish. It's a complete waste of time. What's the minimum I can do? Now, I would actually love to referee one of those debates. So drifting away from your question. So success is somebody listens. Success is people actually start sharing it amongst themselves. I'd love audit partners to be sending things to their managers, to their seniors, and saying, you really need to watch that episode. I think that was a good episode. So just watch that. Don't subscribe for the whole series, but just watch that episode. Really watch that. And from a practicality, success for me is I get the shorts from it. I get being able to make our training more interesting, more relevant. So this is, for me, it's massively integrated into our business. It's not just a standalone. I am not. All this does is cost me money. I'm not sitting out there. I'm not saying, please subscribe on Patreon. I need to advertise something. And the success is it's properly integrated into our advice to auditors. It's properly integrated into our training. And we create debate.
Because we're trying to continuously try and make our training more better to help people to be more engaging. So having these conversations, short bits interjected into our training would just make it more lively and different modes to train people.
And I feel sorry for Chris, who's been sitting there not saying anything and making a few notes.
Mate, I've got a whole page of notes.
But Chris, you are suffering. You are talking to two of the most boring chartered accountants, techie chartered accountants that exist. Our audience, our client base, they're accountants, they're auditors. They are not the most exciting people in the world. So for us to actually be lively and talking on video in a non-monotonous tone and saying something, this is as exciting as chartered accountants get.
Cutting edge.
All right. So, Wayne, one last question before we move on to we get to ask Chris some questions. Is there are podcasts out there on IFRS on financial reporting. What gaps or what makes our financial reporting conversations podcast different? What gap are we trying to fill?
There's two bits. So between me and you, we are almost unique on these podcasts that for the purpose of these, I'm the auditor. I'm the registered company auditor. I'm the person that knows and reads auditing standards. You're the accounting IFRS guru. You've never done an audit. So the problems with lots of these podcasts.
I'm glad I haven't.
I have tried to persuade you the excitement of being an auditor, but a lot of these podcasts are done from, I am an accounting standards expert. I would like to tell you what the exciting thing the IFRS said when they came and rejected something. This is meant to try and link auditing and accounting. As we touched on before, we're practical, that we see and deal with a load of difficult questions. It makes us relevant. And one of the things I find with a lot of the current podcasts, everything deals with what's new. I would like to tell you the latest IFRS agenda. I would like to tell you the latest change. Everybody's excited about IFRS 18. You really need to worry about IFRS 18. No, you don't. You worry about that in 18 months' time. We are dealing with back catalogue. We're dealing with IFRS 9. We're dealing with the idea that nobody understands IFRS 15. And we're not selling audit. We're not selling a bigger audit product. We're not auditors. I'm never, hopefully, ever going to sign an audit opinion ever again. And in our situation, one of the things I find I hope we'll succeed on is to stop people working in bubbles. So every firm tends to work in its own bubble. Every techie tends to just work in their own bubble. This is meant to try and share knowledge, to share issues. And deep down, there is a bit of me that really wants to help the audit profession. I believe in the audit profession. So hopefully the unknown unknowns, the reminders, it might help people stay in business, sleep at night, less audit failures, less tickets being removed. So there's my philanthropic aim for the podcast.
Yeah, definitely to build a community and to improve quality, audit quality, and knowledge of standards and how to apply accounting standards better.
Move the unknown unknowns to the known unknowns. I think that's a problem. I think that could be going wrong. I just need to ask the question and consult. That's the
Yeah. So let's talk about the production side of things. As I mentioned earlier, we're joined by, we've got Chris here from Rich Films, and he's been helping us navigate everything from setting up and scripting to recording and distribution of these videos. And Chris, you've worked with all kinds of presenters and formats, and we'll love to get your take on how we can make this series both enjoyable to make, but most importantly, engaging for the audience. So to start off, what's the best setup?
It's a good thing I'm here.
I did say we're boring. We're boring, but our audience is boring as well.
Sorry to cut your question.
Good. Yeah. So, what's the best setup for hosting and recording a three-way conversation like we do now, especially because we are hoping to get guests that would come on and speak to us?
Invest in the Ridgefield. Let's put your money down now and invest in what we have to offer, right? This is it. This is the best you can get. You haven't had to leave your bedrooms, and we're all going live on this wonderful medium that opens you guys to the world. Okay. Now, yes, that could be an iPhone. You could go and record your podcast on an iPhone and away you go. Okay. But by virtue of us showing up like we are right now, with a premature, growing, early starts to a concept of a podcast, is absolutely the best thing you guys could be doing right now. I'm a big believer in, you've heard the phrase, build it and they will come. Well, there's a new way of thinking about that, and is they will come and then you build it. Right? That's a legit thing, right? Don't go and invest and do all this big setup around something. And this is great for your business owners too, the people that are out there that are doing this as well. Like, you don't have to get it perfect nowadays. You can start small and chip away at it and improve. Most things Wayne's touched on, recycle, reuse, repurpose, is big on his list of ideology here, right? And by virtue of us sitting down and recording this long form content, opens up a whole bunch of marketing capability for him downstream. And also the evergreen nature of what we're doing here is really important to observe. The fact that this is a document. Most people think about documents, they think about spreadsheets and PDFs. Video is documentation, and it's in some cases far more efficient than the traditional way of people are thinking about documentation, right? So the way that you can be showing up, the way that you can be doing this right now, yes, you can go and invest and get looking, sounding and slick and all of that sort of stuff. Or if you have the know-how to pull out your smartphone and talk about something is value to your market, then do that too. Do that right now. There's nothing stopping you. All right. And don't let confidence stop you. Don't let procrastination and all these other things stop you, because that's all your head telling you lies. Okay. And all that crap is mindset. I've heard, and Wayne knows this, but I bang on about the words trying, meant, hope, boring, might. These are all my little list of things, the list of words that we're going to be working with to put more affirmation into this whole thing, right? More certainty, more authority. And now these guys, just so you know, are authorities. They know their shit. Here's the thing. This new medium, this new way of doing things is where it can come unstuck because of it's unfamiliar to you. And for anyone in your audience who has popped open their recording app and tried to record themselves and then fills the void after that recording with negativity, with doubt, is filling it with the wrong information. Because ultimately, the best thing you should be saying after you do your first take to the world should be, that was good, how do I improve it? And fill it with something that's actually positive and productive and will actually move you into the next realm, which is progression, which is getting good at it over a period of time.
And Chris, you've helped us doing a lot of work on scripts. With podcasts, should we be scripted or be more spontaneous?
I don't know, Judith. Do you think we should be more spontaneous? Well, look, Wayne's spelling it out to us. Okay, he's saying make it like Huberman. He's saying make it easy and flowing and cross. And the fact that I've given you guys these headsets to work with and this medium Riverside to be able to do these wonderful edits. I mean, this can be amazing interaction. Okay, it has its airtime and its little gaps and a little bit of let's just say awkwardness. Okay, but that's where the editor can come in and actually get that stuff organized, right? So there's not a should or shouldn't. It's, again, always thinking about whatever we're doing here in the production of this. I'd say this is completely relevant to your audience. Whatever we're doing in the production and the tech and all this other stuff is still not about us. It's still not about us. Now, yes, we need to learn skills. We need to build confidence, all that stuff, right? But ultimately, if people aren't listening, if they don't see value, this is nothing. And that's the thing that I think the world needs to really focus more attention on is them, not you, them. And when you start to turn that shift in that mindset around, it becomes a little bit more manageable to drop the guard with perfectionism, drop the guard with expectations of model and ideology on what it could be, and just go, hey, this is what it is. This is what it is. This is where we're at, and this is what we want for this. Not hope, not meant, not try. This is what we're doing, and by virtue of you, Wayne, and I'd say this for you specifically, you are the expert. You are the model. You are the authority. And what's really exciting about this is your resource to tap this bloke every week. How good is that? That he's a unicorn that's showing up in this way, right? So tap him. Subscribe to the channel.
Describing Wayne as a unicorn.
Sign up.
Unicorn. He said, I'm the gay one on this call.
Here's the thing, right? The language that the finance world uses about themselves, I find overly derogatory. I find it upsetting because it's not it's boring to me. Yes, let's just let's just put that around. I do not want to.
We're boring to us. That's why we go scuba diving or do karate or go skiing. We are boring people that do interesting things outside of accounting. That's how we live our lives. I go running with the bulls in Pamplona. I go skiing on Black
Runs. You didn't know that about Wayne.
I've not skied for 20 years, but
all these wonderful things you can be talking to. Filter that into your boring accounting podcast, and you'll end up with something really interesting, right? Everybody wants human interaction, okay? And what by the virtue of people or the finance community talking about themselves as boring, it's boring for me because I'm a creative, right? I'm born up on video. But it's not boring for the people that are listening. They're well informed. They understand what's going on. They're getting value of it.
A couple of things, I love Monty Python, and Monty Python was brought up with Monty Python taking the piss out of chartered accountants because it was the correct thing to take the piss out of chartered accountants. And a Monty Python quote that is brilliant. The most interesting thing a chartered accountant can say: no comment. Now that's actually made it into Monty Python's Flying Circus. 100 years ago, I was psychometrically analysed at Price Waterhouse. We did a Belbin thing, and if you know, Belbin's got this different thing. And one of my third characteristic is a plant, which is actually creative. Plant is the creative person. And the feedback from the person that was doing all this psychiatric testing on me was, that's very unusual for an accountant. That's very unusual for an auditor. I think we being Price Waterhouse at the time, or we being me included within that's being creative is not a desired characteristic of an accountant. And I was told that in 1989, 1990. So I was brought up as a whole generation of people that the desired recruitment model was not being creative.
That's all good and well, Wayne.
It's the audience. That's my audience.
Okay, let's not steamroll this. Judith, back to you.
Yeah, sure. So, Chris, what are the common pitfalls in podcast production? I mean, you probably have seen so many. How do we avoid them?
I like I did look at this question. And I was like, the number one thing, think about this, right? If you're into podcasts and you're bombing it down the highway at 110 k's an hour, or if you're in Thailand, Singapore, India, Dubai, Philippines, whatever your speed limit is there. But, the car's going crazy. It's a lot of wind noise and everything else. And you're trying to listen to your favorite podcast, right? And it doesn't matter how well produced it is, or it could be something that started up new like this, which has probably got relatively good production value. But the worst thing is to have two people speaking, to have either the host or the guest that's speaking at normal volume, everything's acoustically set and it's nice and normalized and everything's nice and loud, and then the guest or the host coming in nice and quiet like this, and you can't barely hear them. Now, not because they're whispering, but because the levels are completely unbalanced. Now, this is completely nerdy and techie. Oh, it's probably boring to you, right? But this is one of the pitfalls that people aren't balancing out their bloody levels and making it easier for the poor person in the car just to listen like a normal radio station. That is a common pitfall I see. If people straighten that out, the podcasting world would be a better place.
If you're finding this discussion useful, please take a moment to click like, subscribe, and share. It helps others in the financial reporting community discover financial reporting conversations and keeps you up to date with every new episode. And how do we avoid them? Like, is it up to the editor that, to help us with that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like no, like the reason why we don't have headsets and big cans on, right? Because that does jack shit, because you guys don't know about audio production enough to have big headphones. Yes, you can know when you're bumping your mic. That's about as good as it really does. But otherwise, no, it's up to the editor, because if you've got guests on, you can't control the level of their voice. You're going to have some people that'll come in very loud in some bits and then and just talk under their breath in other parts. You can't control that. You're not going to train them through that, right? So it's really up to the audio editor or the video editor to work that out. And it's a very simple tactic that we've been doing for years that still lots of video production companies and audio engineers and guys that don't do very well. So we want to straighten that out and make it easier, again, for them, for the audience, for the listeners, for the people that are going to be that community. Because we want them coming back. And if they can't hear you, that's no good. We want them hearing. We want to be communicating.
One of the things that I've learned from you, you've emphasized with me, is just almost how quick you can't waffle on video. You're impatient on video. And the more now, certainly of you coaching me and me now listening, I'm just obsessed with watching video clips and watching or listening to podcasts and think, get on with it. I've listened to this for 30 seconds. I've learned nothing. I'm bored. And I just click off it. I'm a YouTube junkie, but YouTube lists all this stuff I could watch. And you had your period. You had that element, and you've lost my interest. I don't care what you ate for breakfast yesterday, or whether it's a nice day, or all this stuff, or in my case, all the pregnant pauses and how slowly I speak.
You're getting good at it. You're getting better.
You're off. That's it. I'm going on to the next one. So that's
So that comes to our next question. Like,
Good,
how do
Judith.
we make sure that we're not boring?
And look, this is a little bit less about you guys at this point, because Wayne's segued in my mind to something that I think is really, really powerful. And again, if we think about the audience and what's in it for them, then you can't afford to wait 10, 12 minutes for you guys to finally get to a point. The whole reason why hooks exist in the first place is to grab attention fast. And this is not for the sake of having a hook. And I'm saying, like, the start of this podcast, if we run it with your intro, Judith, that is not the hook, right? The hook is the vital bit, probably coming from Wayne, because he's the guy that everybody wants to model off, right, and be like. Then him and his profound, hopefully not talking about how boring he is, him saying something profound is the hook, right? It shapes the context of what this program's about. Because if you can't get that buy-in at that start, Wayne's told you, you've lost them. And not only have you lost them for that episode, you potentially lose them forever, or for at least a long time before you earn trust back. Now, what I'm talking about is binge watching, binge listening. We all do it. The Netflix 2020 saga really got us in that in that repeatable cycle. We had nothing else to do. We might as well sit on our couch watching Netflix, right? But that is ultimately what businesses should be striving for, is to get more people watching with more excitement and more value from it, because they are in a habitual cycle of watching you, because they're getting value. They're getting good substance from it, because you are the go-to resource for the most important information around auditing and boring finance stuff, right? So that's the trick here, right? And so I would argue that anybody that comes in, without a real plan of attack and real certainty around it, is kind of delaying or prolonging that potential onboarding of listeners there that could be right there in front of them wanting to listen, but because we're not putting in the mechanics and the mechanism to do it properly at the start, it could just drag it out a little bit. So the community, I think, is important, and I don't think it's not just create once and then because it's syndicated to Spotify and iTunes that automatically it'll open up this kind of Pandora's box of people that are going to start consuming the information. Like all marketing, whether it's a single little social media video or a video for your website or a podcast, it needs to be constantly marketed and talked about. Market, remarket, and what I call market the marketing, okay, is a really important part of making sure that it gets the audience that it deserves. And in 6 months' time, if this episode still hasn't got the capacity that you'd like in terms of viewership or listeners, run it again, promote it again. It's funny. It's funny. I've got over 200 episodes on our Video Confidence Collective podcast, and the most watched episode is episode 1. Not because it was a rock star podcast right from the start, but because people are curious to see where we started, to see how shit it was back then, and see the evolution and how it's grown since.
My aim for this is, I say, to keep us honest. So and keeping me honest, and I had a great plan, and did I follow it through is always best practice, to be honest. But this will be in 6 months' time, or certainly a year's time. Let's do Halloween 2026. So, okay, let's have a rerun of it. Your guys will tell me how to insert a clip and do a flashback. So, Wayne, you said this in October 25. So, Judith, did you do it? Oh, so this is going back to the recycle reuse. This is a diary.
Hopefully by then, Wayne, we don't have one of these lingering around. We haven't got the tombstone for this podcast. We've actually got people that are engaged and listening and ready to go. Right. So I just thought, in the spirit of Halloween, I'd introduce that.
Well, thank you.
Little prop. For those that are listening, they have no idea what's just happened. I pulled up a headstone prop. It is just about to turn Halloween here, and we're celebrating. And so I thought that would be a useful segue.
Yeah, let's try to avoid the tombstone. Wayne, what about, do you have other questions for Chris?
How do I get better?
Yeah, good.
What's your plan for getting me in particular?
Yeah, good.
Because
good.
Judith's far more advanced and pays far more attention than me. How do I get better?
Yeah, it's really good. And like you mentioned, unknown unknowns, right? Like, what does that mean? Do people know what that means? This is one of those things that I think is really a couple of tactics, right? Structurally, there's a couple of different methods that can go into these episodes that actually make it structurally more organized. What's interesting is people's brains don't work well when there's a caloric load on it, right? If you don't set the stage right at the start and then journey them through, or send them on the voyage, okay? And not the journey, the voyage. And the voyage represents this start, middle, and end, or before, during, and after concept. And there's a way to actually navigate that properly to keep people entertained and interested and hooked in, and take you from the unknown. So to clarify what that means, when I looked at that as one of my questions that were coming my way, I thought, oh, this is the unconscious incompetence. Have you guys seen that quadrant? Have you ever seen that quadrant? Wayne, you'd surely be familiar with the unconscious incompetence to conscious competence. Yeah. Do you remember? Yeah. Okay. So basically, I don't want to kind of bore you guys through because it really is better to see it as a visual. But this unconscious incompetence is, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know how bad I really am, and I don't know how to even start getting good, right? And that's where most people start. And you guys have actually taken a big commitment here and a big chunk to chew, really, with this. It is a voyage. This journey that you're on from making you better, Wayne, is a voyage, right? And the voyage will end up, and I say will instead of might or hope, right? Because I'm very critical about language, will get you to consciously competent. Okay? Meaning you're good. Conscious competence. You're good. You know your strengths. Okay? And so this is a lot to do with the mental attitude and the language, not just for Wayne, but we all tell ourselves, that create a bit of a scotoma or a bit of a distraction in our lives. Instead of filling that blank spot with progression and, hey, I'm going to, that was good. How do I improve? You fill it with, well, that was shit. That was boring. We won't do that again. You see what I'm saying? So it's a little bit about changing the attitude, putting structure in place, a good structure that makes it easier, less caloric load for the viewer or the listener, and they're able to journey through voyage through without the burden of trying to figure out the code of what's going on here.
You see, you touch on two things. When we touched before, I like the Zoe structure of a podcast or a YouTube that go through a quick fire. What's this? Is this a problem? Is this not a problem? Is this not a problem? And then really everybody knows that from the rest of it, we're just going to talk through those problems. So I love your idea that if you don't tell people how long this is going to go on for, you think, are we there yet? I'm bored.
Yeah, correct.
I'm bored. How long? I need to get a cup of coffee. I need to do this. This is just going on. So setting them up what they're going to listen to, tell them what you're going to tell them, tell them what you've told them, which is old presenter language, still works in this environment. 100%. Now, one of the things I find interestingly between me and you, apart from you're smart and tidy and I'm me and you're creative and I'm
see, there we go, loading it with negative shit. Right?
I do.
Hey, you're a sexy bloke. You just got to tidy up your hair.
I do find it. This, if you've ever listened to a Bill Bailey interview, I am British. And my persona and what I believe is decent. And the Bill Bailey quote is, if you ask somebody, a British person, how's it going? The best you'll ever get is not bad. Not bad, it could be worse. Now, that's a British response. And in this attitude, which is you, and most of my audience, I'm not sure how many of my audience are actually Australians. I know there's lots of Australian passports, but there's loads of Brits and South Africans within it. If you ask an Australian, and particularly you, how's it going, Chris? Awesome. Absolutely awesome. And
killing it.
A British person will never say that. And they almost get uncomfortable by people's enthusiasm. And, a lot of the coaching that you're giving me, be positive. It's awesome. I'm going to be awesome. I have never said the word or described myself as awesome in my life. And if I did, I very likely should go away and think about it and get a nice pint of British beer and convince all these Australians mad. So this is a style thing of even knowing who my audience is. And, a lot of my audience, and I've worked in Singapore, I've worked in Asia a lot. The amazing, loud, confident Aussie, you, scares the hell out of them. It's not natural to them. So I know all this. I want you to make you into an Australian, a very confident. It's a scary route that you might be trying to take me on.
I'm about making sure my clients are coachable. And in order for that to, in order for that to be, yeah, in order for that progression, the acknowledgement here is not to change someone or manipulate someone. Okay, and I'm just recently a neurocoding certified specialist here, so you're talking to someone who knows what they're talking about. However, this is about feeling just being very, very mindful and raising awareness that. It's my belief that people gravitate towards certainty, towards clarity, okay? And when you provide that for them, the load on their brain is far less, and therefore it's making it far easier for them to process the information.
And I'll count, and you're again 100% correct, but my nervousness, and I know I've been not appearing a smug know-it-all, so this balance between being confident and authoritative versus you are a smug know-it-all and I'm bored of listening to that smug know-it-all.
That's probably them listening to me.
That's in my psychology. That's in my psychology of avoiding that.
So your nervousness is related to your nervous system. By virtue of you guys being here, it's easy for me to be here, okay? Because I've been running a podcast for 6 years, because I've been on camera most of my life, because I video coach people in confidence. Okay. You guys are all fresh and new to this. So if there is discomfort right now, that's exactly where you should be. You should embrace discomfort. Discomfort is where we grow. That is stress on your nervous system. So if there's not clarity of thought, if there's stagnant pauses, if they're fumbling through words, accept that is what it is. Okay, and this is the beauty of growth and just raising more awareness around this. It's not there for you to see that as a burden, or why can't I do this, or why can't I do that, or why aren't I improving? It's just raising awareness that the discomfort, it's like, the analogy would be, hey, you go try and play the piano and there's no coach and no teacher, and after a year you've played and played and played, and all you can do is chopsticks by the end of it. And this is the thing. You need a coach. You need someone to support you, someone that's in your corner to make sure that you're actually getting a melody out, that it is clear and sharp, and people can listen to it. They're not going to listen for long if it's just chopsticks. Do you like that analogy?
I like that, but I mentioned one of my aims is people work in a bubble. Too many auditors and accountants are doing exactly what you've just said. In terms of learning their skill, learning their trade. Here's the standards. There's a nice book. I've got books on the shelves behind me. Here's the standards. Like, there's the piano. I'll come back in 12 months to see how you've got on. Okay, I'll give you two of you can sit there next to the piano because I don't want you to be alone. Yeah. And so part of what I'm trying to do with this...
what you are doing. What you are doing.
This is like having a conversation with Yoda. There is do or not do. There is no such thing as try. So yes, exactly. I will now Chris Yoda. So you are preaching, obviously somebody like Star Wars, and you are living in the Yoda world.
If you've lasted this long in this podcast, God bless you. And I'll also just point out attention to Wayne, and this is another thing you guys can just be very aware of, is, Wayne's dropped in Huberman, Zoe, and Billy Bailey, and your audience might not know who they are. And so what's constantly useful in your podcast, and this might be, you could argue with me on this, that people understand everything about bloody audits and this, that, and the other. But if there is any sense of doubt or leaving anyone left out, you always explain what you've just said. So what I mean by that, right, you spell it out, you go through it in more detail, you throw in an analogy. And what I mean by that is that's going to then help them, the different learning styles of different people, to make sure that nobody's left out in the cold. They're all there on that voyage with you. and that nobody's there going, who's Huberman? Who's Zoe? What's he talking about? Okay, so we can always collectively, this is myself included, do more with being a higher consciousness around what your audience will or will not understand.
You do realise this is the only conversational, light-hearted episode in the history of financial reporting conversations.
So you guys
we
are cutting
will
edge,
just
man.
talk about
Cutting
the
edge.
Accounting Standards Board this, the Sustainability Standards Board that, the IFRS said that. This is the only light-hearted episode we'll have in the next 12 months.
Well, that doesn't need to be the case. And so what I really want you guys to understand here as well is by virtue of you discovering what your pillars are, we call them pillars or call them topical points, right? And this is again where it's really important that you explain this in your podcast overview highlight video, saying in the financial reporting conversations, the four major elements that are universal right for this podcast are, hey, the expert Chris comes on and talks about marketing or marketing challenges or maybe confidence challenges or whatever. We're talking about financial reporting stuff and audits. We're going to talk about this and we're going to talk about that. By you setting that stage in the tone and the environment, then makes it what you want it to be. Not, oh, this is the only episode we'll ever make it. If you want more of these candid chats, then we can, bring in a bloody comedian. Like I interview, so in my podcast, this is context, so you guys can understand what I'm talking about here. What I mean by that, right, is that I have 5-minute hot tips. So I'll look for an SEO term and go and put a whole episode around that. That's just me blasting out some information. I'll interview clients. So this is the best thing about podcasts is you've got them on for half an hour, leverage the shit out of that thing, right? So you get them recorded, you include plenty of about your company in the testimonials and making sure that they speak favorably about you because you can grab all that. You get a little bit about them and a bit more about the industry and how all that works and some useful information for the audience. But that is a great application for podcasting and for long form content because you have that as evergreen content for the rest of your life. You have that always to refer back to from a marketing perspective. Then I'll go out and interview random people like Joseph McClendon III, a guru that's hooked up with Tony Robbins in the States and somebody that's mentored me around neuroencoding. And I'll have him on the show. And we'll be completely off cuff. We won't be talking about video at that point at all. We'll be talking about mindset and personal development and growth. Okay, so for a podcast that's titled The Video Confidence Collective, we've kind of channeled it and tiered it in different ways that break it up for the listener and break it up for the audience. And the first time I ever saw anyone really do this was Gary Vaynerchuk in his podcast, I'm sure, one episode through his bloody table on the board, through his iPhone on the boardroom table and literally recorded like a 50-minute meeting. And that was the whole episode. No polish, no intro, no nothing. And I was like, okay, so this is what content can be. Again, more about documenting than creating. This is what it can be. The value of listening in on that conversation around that boardroom table could be hugely valuable to the audience. Does it have production value? No, you could barely hear most of the people around that boardroom table. But again, that just blows my mind that can happen and it still can be so useful for people.
One of the things I find, I'm desperate to get people to have chats with, people to question me, you live in an ivory tower, what's the weird way, you don't understand. So I've tried and I want audit partners on these podcasts. I want to chat with an audit partner, and I've got, they're my client base, and they should, their business models should say they need to make profile. I'm giving them the opportunity. I say, I've got this great opportunity. It's a win-win. Mm-hmm. I'll build your profile and you give me content and you're a mate and you're a client. So I want to, and you can't believe how far they run, of all the great ideas and great offerings. Yeah. I will, I've spent all this money with Chris on all this gear. It's really good gear. It's better than, you're a bigger firm than me, but my gear's my production's
better than yours.
than your firm, which is a bit embarrassing for you, mate. You're a partner of that firm. Why haven't you got this gear?
Maybe don't lead with that when you're asking him to come on the show.
It's me.
Listen,
it's me.
mate,
It's me.
my gear's better than yours, but come on anyway.
And they run away. And I know some of these guys would be good at a conversation, or enthusiastic, or topical, or close to the coalface. But so back to success, to get interesting guests that will want to come on.
Okay.
Is part. But I'm struggling with it. It's been
simplify the caloric load. Simplify
expected.
that caloric load is happening before you even get them on the show. Right, if that conversation is not easy and palatable and digestible, and just like, if you know that already, Wayne, and that's happening, then you've really got to come in. For instance, when I got up in front of 500 people at the recent A Factor event, it was something hosted by, as I mentioned, Tony Robbins' best buddy, Joseph McClendon III. And I got up and I said, man, I'm running a podcast. I'd love 15 minutes of your time. And he goes, yep. And I was like, he's going to shoot this down. Now I said, right. He goes, yep, go see Brandon at the back. He'll take care of it for you. And I'm like, shit, that was easy, right? And so I got him on the episode. Now, I didn't know if it was going to happen or not, whether he was all just showing off in front of everybody. But he stuck to his word. Got him on the show, and he hooked in from the States somewhere. And the first thing I asked him was, how long do I have you for? He didn't have questions. He didn't know where it was going to go. I said, how long? And he goes, I got about an hour. And I went, fuck me. Right. So I went in low because I wanted to keep it, I'm only going to use 15 minutes of your really valuable, important time. And he was so gracious to give me 1 hour and really love our audience. Love them. I've actually got this written right down here, and I never mentioned it, but love your audience, Wayne. Okay. And that starts before they come on the show. That starts before you get listeners. By you putting that graciousness out there into the world, despite some shoot downs and whatnot, refining that process so that it's low caloric load, they're not having to process, you're not going to dump it all on them in one hit. Just go, look, man, I run this little podcast. It'd be great to have you on. It's super easy for you. So I'm going to take up much of your time. I'll have you for 10 minutes, man. You're done. It'd be so easy. Nothing. It's like a phone call. Would you be interested? Because I'd really love you. I think you're a really valuable part of the puzzle, and I know that you can offer a great amount of value for the audience. So playing around with what I've just suggested there is not just do what Chris did, right? It's a test and measure. Okay. Now we have our mechanism in place, which we will blueprint share for you. Okay, that's how you will start introducing it. If it doesn't work, we'll change it up and we'll do something else. Okay, but it also is a little bit more about, in that outreach is a little bit, and we all know this, about volume and about numbers game, right? And actually going out to 10, and if you get a bite from 1 or 2. Okay, but don't shoot it, don't get shot down. Oh, nobody wants to come on my show. This is all, again, pat yourself on the back, love who you're asking with good intentions, put that energy into it, and go in with a modest offer and see what comes of it.
Well, I think that's a great place to pause for today. I've noticed, look at the clock, we've talked close to an
Until
hour
next week.
on this conversation. So, but this has been a bit of an experiment, and this kind of behind the scenes look at what we're thinking about financial reporting conversations and what it could become. So if you've been listening and have thoughts on what you'd like to hear in future episodes, or who we could invite, or what we could do
whether you would
better,
like to be a guest.
we'd really love to hear from you.
Have you not learned anything, Judith?
Would like to interview me or be a guest, please.
Okay,
please
so
drop
we're
us a
not
line.
recapping. We're not recapping on this. This has been a great episode on financial reporting. It hasn't. The majority of this has been about trying to straighten you guys out, right? So let's make sure we end with a firm language. We've taken a little direction, but I think you'll all agree this has been some valuable information on mindset, on accounting, and also how to steer your business so that you get the most amount of people all looking at your business and doing wonderful things for you. That could be an alternative, I'm just saying.
Yeah. So we'll go back,
you are
reflect.
Awesome. I'm not bad.
We all have room for improvement. Sorry, Judith, back to you.
Yeah, so stay tuned, everyone, for a proper episode. But thanks for joining, and we'll see you soon for a real episode of Financial Reporting Conversations.
Thanks for listening to Financial Reporting Conversations. For guidance on applying accounting and auditing standards or to access our online training programs, please visit basfordconsulting.com.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your colleagues and contacts. We'll see you next time where we make the unknowns in financial reporting known.